pause on the COVID the COVID executive orders, and specifically, let's start with the election. So the executive branch, the Secretary of State and the Governor's Office changed the state's election laws, which appeared to be a violation of the United States Constitution, because the United States Constitution says that it's up to the state legislatures to set elections rules for the state. Do you
actually can I stop you there?
Yep.
And let's read the language of the Constitution specifically, because that's not exactly what it says. Okay.
Okay. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed by each state by the legislature.
Stop right there. Stop.
Okay.
Stop right there. You missed an important word. The word is state.
Yeah,
read it again. It says state.
The times.
The state is responsible for doing that. And it says
shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof.
Right. Okay. So, first of all, it is a state function. It's not a function of the legislature. It's a state function. Yes, the legislature passes statutes, right? But the legislature passed a statute that says how our election occurred. The legislature also passed the statute that said, and Governor, you have emergency powers, right? So, it's the state's function under the laws that are passed by the legislature. That's how you get there. So does the governor have emergency powers to say you could alter things? Yes. And I'm not going to say good, bad, or ugly because it's my client and I can't undermine him. But is there legitimate constitutional authority through that provision that the governor has emergency powers to alter that? And the answer is yes. It does, because it's the plain language. It's the state, as passed by the legislature. The legislature's passed all of those statutes. Make sense?
Well, I can understand the reasonable disagreement on this point, that the governor could have called the legislature into session to address that issue in March of 2020 and chose not to, and instead chose to go ahead and change the time, place, and manner of holding elections in the state.
We don't disagree on that point. He could have. But here's the question. Is the governor compelled to do that? The answer is no.
Okay. And so that's what I want to get to. Because there's disagreement on this point with at least one of your challengers, is that his position is that, yes, that is a violation of the Constitution, the United States Constitution. And so it should have been the Attorney General's job to weigh in on that or somehow stop that from happening. So,
and so remember what we started out with, and the Attorney General, upon request, has to represent the governor. You don't have independent authority at that point. You're the lawyer for the governor. And so, they claim, well, he advised the governor this and he advised the governor that. They don't know what advice I gave the governor because they weren't there. And so what has to happen is the governor has to make his choices. And I don't make those choices for him. I advise him. I don't make his choices.
Well, and I guess, this really gets to the heart of the differences between you and at least one of your opponents, is that one of your opponents said that if he were Attorney General, he would have acted differently. He would have taken some sort of action to stop the governor from changing elections laws. And you stand by that decision.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so let's make sure we understand why. It's because the Constitution says that it is the state, right, that has that responsibility through the legislative process, right? The legislature. They make the rules.
Shall be prescribed in the state by the legislature.
Right. Did the legislature prescribe the election process? The answer is yes. Did the legislature also prescribe the emergency powers of the governor? The answer is yes. Hasn't the legislature prescribed the process? Yeah, they have.
I understand your argument, and I still believe that one of your opponents would disagree with your interpretation of that. And
They disagree with everything I say.